The bridge of the USS Odyssey was quiet, save for the soft hum of glowing screens and the occasional beep of instruments. Commander Alex Carter stood at the center, his hands clasped behind his back as he stared out through the large viewport. The vast emptiness of space stretched before him, dotted with distant stars that shimmered like tiny diamonds against an endless black canvas. This mission had been routine, just another patrol to chart unexplored regions of the galaxy. Humanity's first steps beyond its solar system were still fresh, and every trip into the unknown carried both excitement and unease. Alex glanced over his shoulder at Lieutenant Elena Ruiz, who sat at the communications console. Her fingers moved swiftly over the controls, adjusting frequencies and scanning for anything unusual. She was sharp, meticulous, and one of the best in her field. Beside her, Chief Engineer Ryan Doyle leaned casually against a workstation, arms crossed. He had a skeptical look on his face, as if expecting nothing but static from the endless void around them. "Anything yet?" Alex asked, breaking the silence. Elena shook her head without looking up. "Just the usual background noise, sir." "Number? Signs of intelligent life, or even unintelligent life for that matter?" Ryan chuckled dryly. "Not surprised. We've been poking around out here for weeks, and all we've found is empty space and rocks. Maybe the universe isn't as crowded as everyone thinks." Alex didn't respond immediately. He trusted Ryan's expertise, but something about this region felt different. It wasn't just instinct. There was an almost palpable tension in the air, like the calm before a storm. He turned back to the viewport, letting his gaze wander across the stars. Somewhere out there, he thought, there had to be more than just emptiness. Then it happened. A faint blip appeared on the sensor display, catching Elena's attention. She straightened in her seat, narrowing her eyes at the screen. "Commander," she said, her voice steady but tinged with curiosity, "I'm picking up something. It's weak, but it's definitely artificial." Alex stepped closer, leaning over her shoulder to see the readings. Sure enough, a signal was coming through, barely audible amidst the cosmic static. It pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. "Can you clean it up?" he asked. "I'll try," Elena replied, her fingers flying across the keyboard. She adjusted filters, boosted the gain, and isolated the frequency. Slowly, the garbled noise began to take shape. Bursts of data emerged, interspersed with what sounded like distorted tones. It wasn't language, not human language anyway, but it was structured. Too structured to be random. Ryan pushed off the wall and joined them, peering at the display. "That's no natural phenomenon," he muttered. "Someone or something is trying to say hello," Elena nodded. "And they're not doing it casually. Whoever sent this put effort into encoding it. Look," she pointed to a series of repeating patterns within the signal. "These sequences, they might be coordinates." Alex felt a thrill run through him. Coordinates meant a destination, a purpose. "Plot them," he ordered. "Let's see where this leads." It took only moments for the ship's navigation system to process the information. When the results came up, Alex frowned. The coordinates pointed deep into uncharted territory, far beyond any region humanity had explored. The area was marked as largely empty on their charts, but that didn't mean much. Space was vast, and humanity's knowledge of it was still limited. "This could be dangerous," Ryan said, voicing what everyone else was thinking. "We don't know what or who we're dealing with here. For all we know, this could be a trap." "It could also be a cry for help," Alex countered. His tone was firm but measured. "If someone out there needs assistance, we have a responsibility to investigate." Elena looked between the two men, weighing their arguments. Finally she spoke. "Sir, if I may, the signal is fading. If we don't act now, we might lose it entirely." "And whoever sent it won't send another," Alex nodded. "Exactly. Prepare the ship for FTL travel. We're going to check this out." Ryan sighed but didn't argue further. He knew better than to question Alex once his mind was made up. Instead, he headed toward engineering to ensure the engines were ready for the jump. Meanwhile, Elena continued analyzing the signal, searching for any additional clues that might prepare them for what lay ahead. As the Odyssey prepared to enter faster-than-light travel, Alex returned to the viewport. The coordinates led to a sector of space that seemed eerily quiet, almost too perfect. There were no nearby stars or planets, just an expanse of darkness. Yet somehow, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were being drawn into something extraordinary. Hours later, the ship dropped out of FTL near the designated location. At first glance, there was nothing unusual, just more empty space. But then, as the sensors scanned the area, something massive appeared on the long-range scanners of a derelict alien vessel drifting silently in the void. The sight of it sent a chill through the crew. The ship was enormous, easily 10 times the size of the Odyssey. Its surface was covered in intricate carvings and glowing runes that pulsed faintly, casting an otherworldly light across the hull. It looked ancient, yet somehow advanced, as though it belonged to a civilization far older than humanity. Are those writing? Elena asked, zooming in on the markings. Or symbols? Hard to tell, Alex replied. But one thing's for sure, they didn't come from Earth. Ryan let out a low whistle. This thing's big enough to swallow us whole. What do you want to bet it's armed to the teeth? We'll find out soon enough, Alex said. Prepare an away team? We're going aboard? The decision sparked a mix of excitement and apprehension among the crew. Exploring an alien ship was the stuff of dreams or nightmares, depending on how things went. Still, orders were orders, and preparations began quickly. Alex selected a small group to accompany him, including Elena and Ryan, along with a few security personnel armed with stun rifles. As they suited up in protective gear, Elena couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. Do you realize what this means? She asked Alex while checking her equipment. If we can establish contact with whoever built this ship, it could change everything. Humanity wouldn't be alone anymore. Alex gave her a small smile. Let's focus on surviving first, Lieutenant. Then we can worry about making history. When the airlock opened, the team stepped onto the alien vessel using magnetic boots to anchor themselves to its metallic surface. The air outside was thin and cold, carrying an odd metallic scent. They moved cautiously toward an entrance hatch, which yawned open like a mouth waiting to swallow them whole. Inside, the atmosphere was thick and oppressive, as though the very walls were alive. The corridors were dimly lit by the same pulsating runes that adorned the exterior, casting eerie shadows on the floor. The team activated their helmet lights, illuminating the path ahead. Every step echoed loudly, breaking the oppressive silence. What kind of ship is this? Ryan whispered, his voice barely audible over the comms. It doesn't look like anything I've ever seen. No kidding, Alex replied. Stay sharp. We don't know what we're walking into. They passed through several chambers, each filled with strange machinery that hummed softly despite appearing dormant. In one room, they discovered rows of cylindrical pods lining the walls. Some were intact, others shattered, their contents spilled out onto the floor. Whatever had been inside was long gone. Leaving behind only traces of organic residue, Elena knelt beside one of the broken pods, examining the residue with a handheld scanner. Whatever it is, it's biological but not human. Not even close? Before anyone could respond, the lights flickered, plunging the chamber into darkness for a brief moment. When they returned, a holographic image materialized in the center of the room. It depicted a tall, slender figure with luminous skin and elongated limbs. Its eyes glowed softly as it began speaking in a melodic, incomprehensible language. The team froze, staring in stunned silence for the first time. In history, humanity was face to face with evidence of intelligent alien life. The holographic figure continued speaking, its voice resonating softly in the chamber. Though the words were unintelligible, the tone carried a sense of urgency and sorrow. Alex and his team stood frozen, their helmet lights casting long shadows on the walls as they watched the glowing alien image. The creature's elongated limbs moved gracefully, gesturing to emphasize its points, while its luminous eyes seemed to pierce through them. Elena was the first to break the silence. It's trying to communicate, she said, her voice trembling slightly. She adjusted the settings on her scanner, attempting to analyze the frequency of the message. We need to record this. If we can isolate patterns, maybe we can translate. Ryan, ever cautious, kept his hand near his stun rifle. Or it could be a trick. For all we know, this thing is baiting us into something. Alex ignored Ryan's skepticism for now. Do what you can, Lieutenant, he said to Elena. But stay alert. We don't know if this ship is safe. Elena nodded and began recording the hologram. As she worked, the rest of the team fanned out, scanning the room for clues. The cylindrical pods that lined the walls drew particular attention. Some were cracked open, their interiors coated with a strange, dried substance that shimmered faintly under the light. Others remained sealed, their surfaces smooth and unmarked. What do you think these are? One of the security officers asked, tapping the side of a closed pod. Cryogenic chambers. Maybe, Ryan replied, inspecting another pod. Looks like whoever built this ship was using them to preserve life. But why? And where are they now? No one had an answer. The oppressive atmosphere of the alien vessel weighed heavily on the group, making every sound, every creak of metal or flicker of light feel ominous. Alex motioned for the team to regroup near the hologram. Let's focus on this message, he said. If we can understand it, it might tell us what happened here. After several minutes of analysis, Elena managed to isolate repeating sequences within the alien speech. She cross-referenced these patterns with known linguistic structures, stored in the Odyssey's database. While the translation was far from perfect, fragments of meaning began to emerge. They're fleeing, Elena said slowly, her brow furrowed in concentration. Something attacked them. They were running from enemies. Alex frowned. Enemies? What kind of enemies? I'm not sure yet, Elena admitted. The language is too complex. But there's fear in this message. Desperation. They sent out a distress call because they thought no one would hear it. Ryan let out a bitter laugh. Well, they were right about that part. Who else is out here to answer? Before anyone could respond, the hologram shifted. The glowing figure disappeared, replaced by images of destruction planets engulfed in flames, cities reduced to rubble, and fleets of ships locked in brutal combat. Explosions lit up the void of space, and the screams of dying beings echoed. Faintly, though whether they were real or imagined was unclear. This is bad, Ryan muttered, gripping his rifle tighter. Whatever did this, we don't want to meet it. The footage ended abruptly, leaving the team in stunned silence. Alex turned to Elena. Can you get anything more from this? She shook her head. Not without more time. This technology is completely foreign to us. It'll take days, maybe weeks, to fully decode. We don't have weeks, Alex said firmly. We need answers now. Let's keep moving. There has to be more information somewhere on this ship. The team pressed deeper into the alien vessel, navigating narrow corridors and labyrinthine passageways. The air grew colder with each step, and the pulsating runes on the walls seemed to dim, as though the ship itself was dying. In one chamber, they found what appeared to be a control center. Panels of glowing symbols covered the walls, and a large console dominated the center of the room. Unlike the other areas they'd explored, this chamber showed signs of recent activity. Tools lay scattered across the floor, and some of the panels still emitted faint hums of power. This must be where they operated the ship, Alex said, examining the console. See if you can reactivate it, Lieutenant. Elena approached. Cautiously, her scanner already picking up residual energy signatures. It's delicate, she warned. One wrong move, and we could fry the whole system. Just do your best, Alex replied. As Elena worked, Ryan inspected the scattered tools. Looks like they left in a hurry, he observed. Maybe. Whatever chased them caught up before they could finish repairs. Suddenly, the console flared to life, bathing the room in bright light. Streams of alien text scrolled across the panels, accompanied by soft chimes and clicks. Elena stepped back, startled but satisfied. Got it, she said. Now we just need to make sense of it. The team gathered around as Elena attempted to interface her portable computer with the alien system. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, fragments of data began appearing on her screen. Maps, coordinates, and schematics filled the display. along with snippets of text that hinted at the ship's purpose. It looks like they were mapping escape routes, Elena explained. They were trying to find a safe haven, somewhere they could hide from their attackers. Did they succeed? Alex asked. Elena hesitated. I don't think so. These logs stop abruptly. Whatever happened to them, it wasn't good. Low rumble interrupted their conversation, causing the entire ship to shudder. Alarms blared in the background, though they sounded distant, as if coming from another part of the vessel. The team exchanged worried glances. What was that? One of the security officers asked, raising his weapon. Could be structural? Failure, Ryan suggested. This ship's been drifting for who knows how long. It's probably falling apart. Or something's still alive in here, Alex countered. He activated his comlink. Odyssey, this is Commander Carter. Do you read me? Static crackled over the line before a voice responded. Commander, we read you. Are you okay? We're fine for now, Alex replied. But we've got movement inside the alien ship. Keep monitoring our position and stand by for extraction if needed. Understood, sir. The team moved cautiously toward the source of the disturbance, following the faint vibrations that reverberated through the floor. The corridors grew darker as they progressed, forcing them to rely more heavily on their helmet lights. Shadows danced eerily on the walls, and the oppressive silence returned. Broken only by the occasional groan of metal. Finally, they reached a massive door etched with intricate carvings. Unlike the other doors they'd encountered, this one was sealed, tightly, requiring significant effort to pry open. When it finally slid aside with a hiss, the team stepped into a cavernous chamber unlike anything they'd seen before. The room was filled with rows of dormant machinery, each piece larger than a human being. In the center stood a circular platform, surrounded by glowing crystals that pulsed rhythmically, casting kaleidoscopic patterns on the ceiling. At the far end of the chamber, 3 figures lay motionless on raised platforms, their bodies encased in translucent shells that shimmered faintly. They're alive? Elena whispered, stepping closer. Alex held up a hand to caution her. Stay back until we know for sure. As they approached, the figures stirred slightly, their glowing skin flickering weakly. They resembled the holographic projection they'd seen earlier, tall, slender, and otherworldly, but their condition was fragile. Tubes and wires connected them to the platforms, feeding them nutrients or energy. These must be the survivors, Alex said quietly. The ones who sent the distress call. Elena scanned the nearest figure, her device beeping rapidly. Their vitals are stable, but barely. They're in stasis, preserving what little strength they have left. Ryan glanced around the chamber uneasily. Why are they still here? If they knew help wasn't coming, why didn't they leave? Maybe they couldn't, Alex replied. Or maybe they hoped someone would find them eventually. Before anyone could say more, one of the figures opened its eyes. Its gaze locked onto Alex, and a wave of emotion washed over him. Not spoken words, but feelings transmitted directly into his mind. Fear, gratitude, hope. They know we're here, Elena breathed. They're trying to communicate. The figure extended a trembling hand, pointing toward the circular platform in the center of the room. Alex understood immediately. They want us to activate it. Are you sure that's wise? Ryan asked, eyeing the platform warily. What if it's a trap? We don't have much choice, Alex said. If we want answers, we need to trust them. With careful movements, Elena approached the platform and examined its controls. After a few moments, she identified a sequence that seemed to initiate the device. Here goes nothing, she muttered. Pressing a series of glowing buttons, the platform roared to life, emitting a brilliant burst of light that filled the chamber. The crystals surrounding it intensified, creating a swirling vortex of colors. From the vortex emerged a new hologram, a detailed map of the galaxy, marked with red zones indicating danger and green zones suggesting safety. They're showing us their route, Alex realized, and warning us about something. Elena pointed to a cluster of red marks converging on their current location. That's not good. Whatever's after them, it's heading this way. How long do we have? Alex asked. Elena checked her scanner. Hours, maybe less. We need to decide quickly what to do. The weight of the decision settled heavily on Alex's shoulders. Leaving the survivors behind wasn't an option. They were clearly counting on humanity for help, but taking them aboard the team worked quickly to prepare the alien survivors for transport. Elena and Ryan carefully disconnected the tubes and wires attached to their bodies, ensuring they wouldn't cause harm during the move. The survivors, 3 beings in total, were frail but alive, their glowing skin flickering like candlelight caught in a draft. Despite their weakened state, they seemed to sense what was happening. Their large, luminous eyes followed the humans as they moved around the chamber, and faint telepathic impressions of gratitude radiated from them. "They're trusting us," Alex said quietly, watching one of the aliens extend a trembling hand toward him. "We can't let them down." Ryan grunted as he adjusted the portable stasis unit designed to keep the survivors stable during the transfer. "Let's just hope we don't regret this later." "Bringing unknown aliens aboard our ship? That's asking for trouble." "We don't have a choice," Alex replied firmly. "If we leave them here, they'll die. And if whatever's chasing them finds us, humanity needs allies, not enemies." Elena nodded in agreement. "Besides, they've already given us valuable information. If we can establish trust, maybe they'll help us understand what we're dealing with." With the survivors secured in the stasis units, the team began the journey back to the Odyssey. The alien ship felt even colder now, its dim ruins casting long shadows that seemed to stretch endlessly behind them. Every step echoed loudly, amplifying the tension among the group. None of them spoke much, their minds occupied by thoughts of the map they'd seen and the red zones closing in on their location. When they finally reached the airlock connecting the alien vessel to the Odyssey, relief washed over them. The familiar hum of their own ship systems greeted them like an old friend. As they stepped inside, Chief Engineer Ryan Doyle immediately began coordinating efforts to safely integrate the stasis units into the medical bay. Alex turned to Elena. "Start working on communication protocols. We need to figure out how to talk to them, and fast." "I'll do my best," she replied, her expression determined, "but it won't be easy. Their language is unlike anything I've ever encountered." While Elena focused on decoding the aliens' language, Alex headed to the bridge to update the rest of the crew. He knew morale would be tested once word spread about the survivors aboard the ship. Some might see the decision as reckless, while others would view it as a bold step forward for humanity. Either way, Alex had to make sure everyone stayed focused on the mission. As he entered the bridge, Lieutenant Commander Lisa Harper looked up from her station. "Commander, sensors are picking up increased activity near the alien ship," she reported. Her voice carried a note of urgency. "Whatever's out there, it's moving closer. How close?" Alex asked, his jaw tightening. "Less than 2 hours at their current speed," Lisa replied. "And they're not slowing down." Alex clenched his fists. Time was running out. "Prepare the ship for FTL travel. We need to get out of here before they arrive." Lisa hesitated. "Sir, the stress on the engines after such a short turnaround could—" "I know the risks," Alex interrupted. "But staying here isn't an option." "Do it." "Yes, sir." Back in the medical bay, Elena sat beside the stasis units, studying the aliens intently. She had set up a portable interface device connected to the ship's database, feeding it fragments of the alien language she'd recorded earlier. Slowly, patterns began to emerge. Words like danger and escape became clearer, along with references to the attackers, the Krill. "They're called the Krill," Elena muttered to herself, scribbling notes on a tablet. "From what I can gather, they're ruthless conquerors who destroy anything in their path. No mercy, no negotiation." Her musings were interrupted when one of the aliens stirred slightly. Its glowing eyes opened, locking onto hers. For a moment, Elena froze, unsure of what to do. Then, without warning, images flooded her mind of violent battle, ships exploding, planets burning. It was overwhelming, yet strangely coherent. The alien wasn't attacking her. It was sharing memories, trying to convey the gravity of the threat. Elena gasped, clutching her head as the visions faded. They're warning us, she whispered aloud. The krill aren't just coming for them, they're coming for us too. She rushed to find Alex, nearly colliding with Ryan in the corridor. Commander, she said breathlessly when she reached the bridge, we need to warn Earth. The krill are more dangerous than we thought. They don't stop until everything is under their control. Alex nodded grimly. Message sent. Earth knows we have survivors aboard, and they're aware of the potential threat. But right now, our priority is survival. By the time the Odyssey engaged its faster-than-light drive, the first signs of the krill fleet appeared on the long-range scanners. Massive, angular ships emerged from hyperspace, bristling with weapons and exuding menace. Even from a distance, their presence was intimidating. The Odyssey's crew watched in stunned silence as the enemy vessels surrounded the derelict alien ship, scanning it thoroughly. They're searching for the survivors, Ryan said, analyzing the data. When they realize we took them, they'll come after us. They'll come after us anyway, Alex countered. The question is whether we can stay ahead of them long enough to reach Earth. For the next several hours, the Odyssey raced through space, pushing its engines to the limit. The crew worked tirelessly to monitor the krill fleet's movements and maintain the ship's defenses. Tension filled every corner of the vessel, from the bridge to the engine room. Everyone knew the stakes. Failure meant not only the loss of the Odyssey but potentially the end of humanity's fragile foothold in the galaxy. In the medical bay, Elena continued her efforts to communicate with the Valens, the name she'd deduced for the alien survivors. Using a combination of gestures, visual aids, and the partial translations she'd managed to piece together, she established rudimentary contact. The Valens, though weak, were eager to assist. Through fragmented exchanges, they revealed critical details about the krill's tactics and technology. They hunt in packs. Elena explained to Alex during one of their brief updates. Their ships are equipped with advanced cloaking devices, making them nearly invisible until they strike. But they have a weakness. Their energy cores are vulnerable if targeted correctly. That's useful, Alex said, his mind racing. Can you share this with Ryan? He needs to adapt our weapon systems to exploit that vulnerability. Elena nodded and hurried off to the engineering bay, where Ryan was already hard at work modifying the Odyssey's armaments. Together, they integrated the new information, programming the targeting systems to prioritize specific areas of the krill ships. Meanwhile, the krill fleet closed the gap. Their pursuit was relentless, and it became clear they weren't going to give up easily. The Odyssey's senses detected multiple jumps through hyperspace, each bringing the enemy closer. Eventually, the inevitable happened. The krill caught up. Alarms blared across the ship as the massive alien vessels appeared on the horizon. The bridge crew sprang into action, manning their stations with practiced efficiency. Alex stood at the center, his voice calm but commanding. All hands prepare for combat. Shields up, weapons online. This is it. The krill wasted no time. Without issuing any form of communication or demand, they opened fire. Bright beams of energy lanced through space, slamming into the Odyssey's shields and causing the entire ship to shudder violently. Sparks flew in the corridors as overloaded circuits sparked and the lights flickered ominously. Shields holding at 60%, Lisa shouted from her station. But we can't take many more hits like that. Return fire, Alex ordered. Target their energy cores. The Odyssey unleashed a barrage of modified plasma torpedoes. Guided by the targeting adjustments made by Ryan and Elena, several struck true, piercing the krill ship's defenses and causing explosions that lit up the void. Cheers erupted on the bridge, but Alex remained focused. One skirmish didn't mean victory. Not against an enemy this powerful. The battle raged on, with both sides exchanging blows in a deadly dance. The Odyssey's agility allowed it to dodge most of the incoming attacks, but the krill's sheer numbers made evasion increasingly difficult. Shields dropped to critical levels and structural damage reports poured in from all over the ship. We're losing power to the aft sections. Ryan called out over the comms. I'm rerouting auxiliary systems, but it's going to be tight. Keep us in one piece, Ryan, Alex replied. That's an order. Just when it seemed the Odyssey couldn't hold out any longer, the Valens intervened. From their stasis units, they projected waves of energy that interfaced directly with the ship's systems. The effect was immediate. The Odyssey's engines surged, propelling it forward with unprecedented speed. At the same time, the ship's weapons gained a boost in power, allowing them to deliver devastating counterattacks. "What's happening?" Alex asked, staring at the readouts in disbelief. "They're helping us," Elena said, her voice filled with awe. "They're channeling their own energy into the ship. It's incredible." With the combined efforts of the crew and the Valens, the tide of the battle began to turn. The Krill fleet, caught off guard by the sudden increase in firepower, started retreating. Explosions rippled through their ranks as the Odyssey pressed its advantage, targeting key ships and forcing the rest to withdraw. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the Krill disengaged, vanishing into hyperspace. Silence fell over. The USS Odyssey limped through space, its battered hull bearing the scars of battle. The crew worked tirelessly to repair the damage inflicted by the Krill fleet, but progress was slow. Sparks occasionally erupted from overloaded circuits, and the hum of the ship's systems was punctuated by the groan of strained metal. Despite the chaos, morale remained surprisingly high. The crew had faced an enemy far superior in numbers and technology, and they had survived. For many aboard the Odyssey, this victory felt like a turning point for humanity. Commander Alex Carter stood on the bridge, staring at the stars ahead. His mind raced with thoughts of what lay beyond the next jump. Earth was still days away, and the Krill could return at any moment. Though the immediate threat had passed, the sense of unease lingered. The Valen's warnings about the Krill's relentless nature weighed heavily on him. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. Lieutenant Elena Ruiz entered the bridge, her face pale but determined. She'd spent hours in the medical bay, monitoring the Valens and continuing her efforts to communicate with them. "Sir," she said, approaching Alex, "I've learned more about the Krill." Alex turned to face her. "Tell me." "They're not just conquerors," Elena began, clutching her tablet tightly. "They're scavengers, too. They strip planets of resources, enslave populations, and destroy anything that resists. Their leader, Orth, is ruthless. He sees other species as inferior and unworthy of survival." "And the Valens?" Alex asked. "They were one of the few civilizations capable of standing against the Krill," Elena explained. "But even they couldn't hold out forever. That's why they fled. Zorath sees them as a symbol of defiance, a threat to his dominance. If he finds them alive, he'll stop at nothing to eliminate them." Alex frowned. "Which means coming after us." "Is inevitable," Elena nodded grimly. "We need to prepare for another fight. And this time, it might not just be the Odyssey. Earth itself could be in danger." Alex didn't respond immediately. He knew Elena was right. Humanity's entry into the galactic stage had been abrupt and chaotic, but there was no turning back. Now, the Krill wouldn't care that Earth was new to interstellar politics. To them, humanity would be either an obstacle or a resource, and neither option ended well. "Get me Admiral Hayes on the line," Alex ordered. "We need reinforcements, Lisa." Harper, seated at the communications console, quickly established contact with Earth Command. Admiral Rachel Hayes appeared on the main screen, her expression stern but concerned. "Commander Carter," she said, "what's your status?" "We're holding together, ma'am," Alex replied. "But we've confirmed the presence of a hostile alien force, the Krill. They're highly advanced and extremely aggressive. We managed to drive them off temporarily, but they'll return. When they do, we'll need backup." Admiral Hayes leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "You're asking for the entire fleet?" "Yes, ma'am," Alex said firmly. "If we don't act now, Earth could become their next target." Hayes hesitated, clearly weighing the risks. After a moment, she sighed. "Very well. I'll mobilize the fleet. But you'd better have solid evidence to justify this decision." "We do," Alex assured her, "and we have allies who can help." On cue, Elena stepped into view, holding up her tablet to display fragments of information gathered from the Valens. "These are translations of the Krill's tactics and vulnerabilities," she explained. With this knowledge, we can adapt our defenses and weapon systems. Hayes studied the data silently before nodding. Good work, Lieutenant. I'll send orders to all available ships. Prepare for rendezvous coordinates once you reach Earth. Understood, ma'am, Alex said. Odyssey out. As the transmission ended, the bridge fell silent. The weight of the situation settled over the crew. Mobilizing the human fleet was unprecedented. It marked the first time Earth had committed its full military strength to an interstellar conflict. For years, humanity had dreamed of joining the galactic community. Now it was being forced to prove itself in the harshest way possible. In the engineering bay, Chief Engineer Ryan Doyle worked alongside his team to stabilize the Odyssey systems. The ship's engines were holding steady, but the strain of FTL travel combined with the recent battle had left them vulnerable. Ryan wiped sweat from his brow as he inspected a damaged conduit. We're lucky to still be flying, he muttered to himself. Behind him, one of the junior engineers spoke. Up. Do you think Earth will be ready when the krill come? Ryan glanced over his shoulder, his expression grim. Doesn't matter if we're ready or not, they're coming. All we can do is make sure we're prepared. Meanwhile, in the medical bay, the Valens continued to recover under Elena's care. Their energy reserves were slowly replenishing, thanks to the specialized equipment rigged by Ryan and his team. One of the Valens, whom Elena had nicknamed Lyra, based on the closest phonetic approximation of its name, seemed particularly eager to assist. Through fragmented telepathic communication, Lyra shared detailed schematics of krill technology, providing crucial insights that could give humanity an edge. They're helping us because they believe in us, Elena told Alex during one of their updates. They see potential in humanity, something worth fighting for, Alex nodded thoughtfully. Then we owe it to them to succeed. Days passed as the Odyssey made its way toward Earth. The journey was tense, with everyone bracing for another attack. Sensors were constantly monitored and defensive protocols remained active. Yet miraculously, the krill didn't reappear. Whether they were regrouping or biding their time was unclear, but the absence of immediate danger allowed the crew to focus on preparation. When the Odyssey finally reached Earth orbit, the sight that greeted them was awe-inspiring. Dozens of human ships, cruisers, frigates, and support vessels had assembled in formation, their sleek designs gleaming in the sunlight. It was the largest gathering of Earth's fleet in history. A testament to humanity's resolve, Alex led the Valens onto the bridge, where they observed the spectacle through the viewport. Their glowing eyes widened in amazement, and faint waves of emotion radiated from them: hope, admiration, and gratitude. For beings who had lost everything, seeing such unity must have been overwhelming. Admiral Hayes boarded the Odyssey shortly after docking procedures were completed. She greeted Alex and the senior officers with a firm handshake before addressing the Valens. With Elena acting as translator, Hayes extended humanity's gratitude for their assistance and promised protection. In return, the Valens offered their full cooperation, vowing to share whatever knowledge they possessed to aid in the upcoming battle. Preparations for war consumed the next several days. Engineers worked around the clock to retrofit human ships with modifications based on Valen schematics. Weapon systems were upgraded, shields reinforced, and sensor arrays enhanced. Pilots trained extensively, simulating combat scenarios against krill tactics. Every member of the fleet understood the stakes. Failure meant extinction. Amid the frenzy, Alex found moments to reflect. Standing on the observation deck, he gazed at Earth below, a fragile blue sphere teeming with life. For centuries, humanity had fought amongst itself, divided by borders and ideologies. Now, faced with an external threat, those divisions seemed trivial. The krill had unwittingly united humanity in a way no leader ever could. "You look troubled," Elena said, joining him on the deck. "I was thinking about how much has changed," Alex admitted. "A week ago, we were exploring uncharted space, hoping to find signs of intelligent life. Now, we're preparing to defend Earth against an alien invasion. And we're not alone," Elena added. "The Valens trust us. That means something." "It does," Alex agreed. but trust won't win this fight. We need to be ready. The final briefing took place in Earth Command's Central Operations Room. Representatives from every branch of the military attended, along with key scientists and engineers. Admiral Hayes presided over the meeting, her voice commanding attention. "This is it," she said. "Everything we've built, everything we've achieved, it all comes down to this. The Krill will come, and when they do, we must stand together." Maps of predicted Krill routes were displayed on large screens, highlighting potential entry points into Earth's solar system. Defensive positions were assigned, and contingency plans reviewed. Everyone knew the odds were slim, but determination outweighed fear as the meeting concluded. Alex approached Hayes privately. "Ma'am," he said, "if things go south, I want the Odyssey on the front lines." Hayes studied him for a moment before nodding. "I figured you'd say that. Just remember, you're not fighting alone anymore. Trust your crew and trust our allies." "Yes, ma'am," Alex replied. Hours later, the fleet received word that the Krill were approaching. Massive fleets of angular ships emerged from hyperspace near the edge of the solar system, heading straight for Earth. The final battle was about to begin. The human fleet stood ready, a wall of steel and resolve guarding the cradle of humanity. The Krill ships loomed on the horizon, their jagged silhouettes cutting through space like predators stalking prey. Tension crackled across the bridge of every vessel as crews prepared for the inevitable clash. On the USS Odyssey, Commander Alex Carter gripped the railing tightly, his eyes fixed on the enemy fleet. "Shields at maximum, Lieutenant Lisa." Harper reported from her station. "Weapon systems armed and locked onto targets." Alex nodded but didn't speak. His mind raced with calculations. How long could they hold out? How many lives would be lost? He glanced at the Valens, who were seated in specially designed harnesses near the tactical display. They had insisted on staying on the bridge, determined to contribute to the fight. Their presence was both inspiring and sobering, a reminder of what was at stake. "All units, report readiness." Admiral Rachel Hayes' voice echoed over the comms. Steady and commanding, one by one, captains confirmed their positions. A human fleet stretched across the solar system, forming layers of defense designed to slow the Krill advance. It was a desperate strategy, but it was all they had. The first wave of Krill ships surged forward, unleashing torrents of energy weapons that lit up the void like fireworks. Bright beams lanced through space, slamming into human shields with devastating force. Alarms blared as ships shook violently under the assault. Sparks flew in corridors and engineering teams scrambled to contain breaches. "Shields holding at 70%. Lisa shouted, her hands flying over her console. "But we're taking heavy damage. Return fire," Alex ordered, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Focus on disabling their lead ships?" The human fleet responded with precision, launching salvos of modified plasma torpedoes. Thanks to the Valen's intel, the torpedoes targeted the Krill's weak points energy cores hidden deep within their hulls. Explosions erupted across the battlefield as several Krill vessels exploded or drifted. "Powerless. We've got them on the ropes," Ryan Doyle called out from engineering. "Keep hitting those cores." But the victory was short-lived. The Krill regrouped quickly, deploying cloaking devices that made their ships nearly invisible. Suddenly, human sensors struggled to track the enemy, leaving the fleet vulnerable to surprise attacks. Ships on the outer perimeter began falling, their defenses overwhelmed. "This isn't working," Elena Ruiz exclaimed, frantically analyzing data streams. "They're too fast, too unpredictable." Alex clenched his jaw. "We need another plan, fast." Lyra, one of the Valens, extended a trembling hand toward the tactical display. Faint images flickered in Alex's mind, not words, but ideas. A strategy emerged. Born from the Valen's centuries of experience fighting the Krill, Lyra suggested using decoy signals to lure the cloaked ships into traps where concentrated fire could disable them. "Elena, can you adapt our sensor arrays to detect distortions caused by their cloaking fields?" Alex asked. "I'll try," she replied, already typing commands into her interface. "If we can isolate even a fraction of their position, it might work." Within minutes, Elena implemented the changes. Human ships began broadcasting decoy signatures, mimicking larger vessels. The ruse worked. The krill took the bait, revealing themselves as they moved to attack. Coordinated strikes from multiple angles crippled dozens of enemy ships, turning the tide of the battle momentarily. Despite these successes, the cost was mounting. Human ships continued to fall, their wreckage floating silently in the cold void. Casualty reports poured in, each name a reminder of the price being paid. Yet, amid the destruction, there was courage. Pilots performed daring maneuvers to protect their comrades. Engineers risked their lives to keep ships operational, and medics worked tirelessly to save the wounded. On the Odyssey, the strain showed. Shields dropped dangerously low and structural. Damage threatened to tear the ship apart. Ryan and his team fought valiantly to stabilize critical systems, their faces streaked with sweat and soot. "We're holding together, Commander," he said, his voice strained but resolute. "But I don't know how much longer." Alex didn't respond. Instead, he turned to the Valens. "We need your help again," he said simply. "Can you give us one more boost?" The Valens exchanged glances, their glowing eyes dimmer than before. They had already expended much of their energy aiding the fleet, but they nodded in agreement. Moments later, waves of alien power coursed through the Odyssey's systems, revitalizing engines and amplifying weapon output. The effect rippled through the rest of the fleet as other ships received similar boosts. With renewed strength, the human fleet launched a final, desperate offensive. Every surviving ship charged toward the heart of the Krill formation, targeting Zorth's flagship. The massive vessel dwarfed everything around it, bristling with weapons and radiating menace. If they could take it down, the Krill might retreat, concentrate. "All firepower on that ship," Admiral Hayes commanded. "Don't let up!" Torpedoes and energy beams converged on Zorth's flagship, battering its shields until they collapsed. The Krill leader retaliated fiercely, unleashing a storm of firepower that obliterated several human ships. But the assault didn't stop. Wave after wave of torpedoes struck true, piercing the flagship's core. A massive explosion engulfed the vessel, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. Debris scattered in all directions as Zorth's command ship disintegrated. Without their leader, the remaining Krill forces faltered. One by one, their ships retreated, vanishing into hyperspace. Silence fell over the human fleet. For a moment, no one moved. Then slowly cheers erupted. Exhausted but triumphant, the crew of the Odyssey hugged each other, tears streaming down their faces. They had done the impossible. They had defeated the Krill. Admiral Hayes appeared on the main screen, her expression a mix of pride and sorrow. "You've saved Earth," she said, addressing the entire fleet. "And you've proven that humanity belongs among the stars." Alex stepped forward, addressing his crew. "Today, we stood not just for ourselves, but for the Valens, and for every species that refuses to bow to tyranny. This is only the beginning." In the days that followed, repairs began, and the wounded were tended to. The Valens, weakened but alive, expressed their gratitude once again. Through Elena's translation efforts, they revealed that their homeworld had been destroyed centuries ago, leaving them as the last remnants of their civilization. They vowed to share their knowledge and technology with humanity, ensuring that such a tragedy would never happen again. As the Odyssey returned to Earth, the planet below seemed brighter somehow, as if it knew what its people had achieved. Humanity's place in the galaxy had changed forever. No longer were they newcomers. They were survivors, warriors, and allies. Standing on the observation deck, Alex gazed at the stars beyond Earth's atmosphere. There was still so much to explore, so many challenges to face. But for now, humanity could breathe easier, knowing it had earned its place among the stars.